I, 38M, never imagined I'd be in this situation. My relationship with my mother-in-law Melanie, 64F, has completely fallen apart, and my entire family is divided. It all started when Melanie destroyed the final birthday gift my late wife Edna had prepared for our daughter Allison, 16F, before she lost her battle with cancer last year. Edna and I met during our freshman year of college. We were both studying business, and she sat next to me in our economics class. We started dating after a few months and got married right after graduation. Edna was the kind of person who lit up every room she walked into. She had this incredible ability to make everyone feel special and loved. We had Allison when we were both 22, and our life was perfect until Edna got sick. Edna was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer when Allison was 14. The diagnosis came out of nowhere. She had been perfectly healthy, going to the gym regularly, eating well, and then suddenly, during a routine checkup, they found the cancer had already spread throughout her body. The doctors told us it was terminal, but Edna was determined to fight it as long as she could, not for herself, but for Allison. She didn't want to miss any more of our daughter's life than she had to. During her last few months, while going through chemotherapy, Edna spent most of her time preparing things for Allison's future. She wrote letters for every major milestone, graduation, wedding day, first child. She recorded videos sharing her favorite recipes, giving advice about life and love, and telling stories about her own childhood. But her most special project was a handmade quilt she worked on during her chemotherapy sessions. The quilt was incredible. Edna had been collecting pieces of fabric for months. She used pieces from Allison's baby clothes, her first school uniform, the dress she wore to her first piano recital, and even parts of Edna's own wedding dress. Each piece had a story behind it, and Edna had carefully documented every memory in a journal that was supposed to go with the quilt. She worked on it whenever Allison wasn't around, determined to make it perfect. Edna told me about it just a week before she passed away and made me promise to give it to Allison on her 16th birthday. She wanted Allison to have something she could wrap herself in and feel close to her mom, even when she wasn't there anymore. After Edna passed, I kept the quilt hidden in my closet, carefully preserved in a special box, waiting for Allison's 16th birthday. The only other person who knew about it was my sister Lisa, 35F, who had helped Edna collect some of the fabric pieces and had even contributed a piece from the dress Edna wore to Lisa's wedding. I specifically didn't tell Melanie about it because she wasn't handling Edna's death well at all. Melanie's behavior after Edna's death was concerning from the start. She would show up at our house unannounced, sometimes multiple times a week, claiming she needed to feel close to Edna. She would go through Edna's closet, taking items here and there, a scarf, a sweater, even some of Edna's jewelry. At first, I understood and let her take some things. I knew she was grieving, and if having some of Edna's belongings helped her cope, I was okay with it. But then Melanie started taking things without asking. She would come over when we weren't home, she had a spare key for emergencies, and take whatever she wanted. It got really bad when she tried to take Edna's wedding ring, which I had been saving to give to Allison on her wedding day. I caught her trying to slip it into her purse during a family dinner. When I confronted her, she broke down crying, saying she deserved to have it more than Allison did because she was Edna's mother. That's when I took back her spare key and told her she couldn't come over unless someone was home. Last month, as Allison's birthday was approaching, I went to check on the quilt, planning to have it professionally cleaned before giving it to Allison. But when I opened the box in my closet, the quilt was gone. I searched everywhere, tore the house apart looking for it, but it was nowhere to be found. I called Lisa in a panic, hoping maybe she had moved it somewhere safe, but she hadn't touched it. I knew how important this gift was supposed to be. It was literally the last thing Edna had made for our daughter. After asking around the family, I finally got the truth from my brother-in-law Tom, 66M. Melanie had found the quilt while cleaning my closet 3 months ago, something I never asked her to do and shouldn't have been doing in the first place. According to Tom, Melanie had gotten extremely upset when she found it, saying I was deliberately hiding Edna's things from her. She took the quilt, claiming that as Edna's mother, she had more right to it than anyone else. But what Melanie did next was unforgivable. She didn't just take the quilt, she cut it up into pieces to make smaller quilts for herself and Edna's cousins. She actually took this precious, irreplaceable gift that my dying wife had made for our daughter and destroyed it. When I confronted her about it, she acted like she had done nothing wrong. She said Allison was too young to appreciate such a meaningful item and that she had done us a favor by sharing Edna's memory with more family members. I completely lost it when I heard this. I told her she had no right to take something that wasn't hers, especially something that her dying daughter had made specifically for her granddaughter. I told her she was selfish and cruel for destroying one of the last connections Allison had to her mother. Melanie started crying and playing the victim, saying I was being mean to her, that she was grieving too, and that she deserved to have pieces of her daughter's memory. I kicked her out of my house and told her she wasn't welcome back until she understood what she had done wrong and made it right, though I don't even know how she could. This caused a huge fight in the family. Tom thinks I'm being too harsh and that Melanie is still struggling with losing her daughter. Lisa supports my decision but thinks I should have told Melanie about the quilt earlier, saying maybe this could have been avoided if we had included her in Edna's final gift to Allison. The situation got even worse when Allison found out what happened. She was completely devastated and hasn't spoken to her grandmother since. Melanie keeps trying to contact her through other family members, sending messages about how sorry she is and how she just wanted to keep Edna's memory alive in the family. But Allison won't even look at the messages. Most of Edna's family is now taking Melanie's side, saying I'm being unreasonable and that family should stick together in times of grief. They're saying I'm using the quilt situation to punish Melanie for all the other times she took Edna's things. Only Lisa and my parents are supporting me, while everyone else thinks I'm tearing the family apart over what they're calling just a blanket. What makes this even harder is that Allison's birthday is in 2 weeks, and I have nothing to give her from her mom. That quilt was supposed to be Edna's last gift to her daughter, a way for Allison to feel her mother's love even after she was gone, and now it's gone forever. I don't know how to tell Allison that her grandmother destroyed something so precious that her mom made for her while dying. How do you explain to a 16-year-old girl that her grandmother's selfishness has robbed her of one of her last connections to her mother? Update 1. It's been 3 weeks since my original post, and the situation has gotten even more complicated. Allison's 16th birthday was last week, and it was one of the hardest days of our lives. I finally had to tell her everything about the quilt and what her grandmother did. I tried to wait until after her birthday celebration, but Allison knew something was wrong. She kept asking about her mom's gift, saying Edna had mentioned having something special planned for her 16th birthday during their last few months together. I sat her down in Edna's old reading nook, a corner of our living room where Edna used to spend hours reading to Allison when she was little. I told her everything about the quilt, how her mom had worked on it during chemotherapy, collecting pieces of fabric that told the story of Allison's life. Allison was quiet for a long time, just sitting there holding Edna's favorite blanket. Then she asked to see pictures of the quilt, but I had to tell her I never took any, thinking I'd have plenty of time to photograph it before her birthday. That's when she started crying. But what happened next made everything so much worse. Last week, Lisa went to visit Melanie, hoping to reason with her about the situation. While helping Melanie look for some old photos of Edna that Allison had requested, Lisa discovered something shocking in the basement. Hidden behind some storage boxes was a large container, and inside were all the pieces of Edna's quilt. Melanie hadn't distributed them to Edna's cousins like she claimed, she had kept every single piece. When Lisa found the box, Melanie completely broke down. She admitted that she would spend hours in her basement at night, taking out the pieces of the quilt and arranging them on the floor, trying to remember how they had fit together. She said she would sometimes fall asleep down there, holding pieces of the quilt and talking to Edna as if she was still alive. But instead of showing any real remorse or trying to make things right, Melanie turned it all around on me. She started ranting about how I was trying to erase her connection to Edna by keeping things from her. She claimed that finding the quilt hidden in my closet proved that I was intentionally trying to cut her out of Allison's life. She said she had every right to take the quilt because Edna was her daughter first, before she was my wife or Allison's mother. Then came the most disturbing revelation. During her emotional breakdown, Melanie revealed that she had been systematically going through our house whenever she visited, searching for more of Edna's belongings to take. She had made copies of our house keys months ago, without our knowledge, and had been coming into our house when we weren't home. This explained all the mysterious disappearances over the past year, Edna's college journals, her favorite jewelry, the recipe box her grandmother had given her, even the special Christmas ornaments we had been saving for Allison. Lisa spent hours trying to reason with Melanie, attempting to convince her to return everything she had taken and give us back the pieces of the quilt. Lisa even offered to help find a professional quilter who might be able to restore it. But Melanie refused, clutching the box of quilt pieces and saying these things were all she had left of her daughter. She accused me of poisoning Allison against her, saying I was trying to make my daughter forget about her real grandmother. When I told Allison about finding the quilt pieces, she insisted on seeing her grandmother. I was hesitant. Melanie had been sending increasingly manipulative messages through family members, trying to guilt Allison into forgiving her. But Allison was determined, so I agreed to let her go with Lisa. That visit turned out to be a disaster. Melanie spent the entire time crying and playing the victim, telling Allison how much she missed Edna and how no one understood her pain. She tried to convince Allison that I was the one in the wrong, that I had been cruel to keep Edna's things from her own mother. Then she did something that made me question her stability. She took Allison up to her bedroom and showed her everything she had taken from our house. Allison came home absolutely devastated. She told me that Melanie had an entire shrine set up in her spare bedroom, filled with Edna's stolen belongings. The most upsetting discovery was Edna's private journals, the ones she had written throughout her illness, which we thought were lost during our move last year. Allison had been searching for these journals for months, desperate to read her mom's thoughts and feel connected to her. Instead, Melanie had been hoarding them, along with countless other pieces of Edna's life that rightfully belonged to our daughter. The family is now more divided than ever. Some relatives, including Edna's aunt and cousins, are saying Melanie needs professional help, pointing out that her behavior has become increasingly erratic. Others, led by Tom, are still defending her actions. Tom is even threatening legal action if we try to reclaim any of Edna's belongings from Melanie's house, claiming that as Edna's mother, She has a legal right to her daughter's possessions. I'm not taking any chances anymore. I've had all the locks changed in our house and installed a complete security system with cameras. Allison is having trouble sleeping, constantly worried that her grandmother might try to sneak in and take more of her mom's things. She keeps checking her jewelry box, making sure the few pieces of Edna's jewelry she has left are still there. The trust is completely broken now. Not just with Melanie, but with any family member who tries to defend her actions. How can anyone justify stealing a grieving child's connection to her dead mother? Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update, and I discovered something that has completely shattered what little hope we had left of salvaging any relationship with Melanie. Last week, while going through Edna's old laptop to find photos for Allison's school project about family history, I found a folder of emails that Edna had sent to Lisa during her last months. These emails revealed something devastating about the quilt. It wasn't just a memory blanket. Edna had sewn 4 USB drives into the corners, each containing video messages she had recorded for Allison's future milestones. Reading through the emails, I learned that Edna had spent weeks recording these messages during her better days in the hospital. She had made videos for Allison's high school graduation, her 18th and 21st birthdays, her wedding day, and even for when she would have her first child. Edna had carefully planned everything, making sure Allison would have her mother's voice and guidance during the most important moments of her life. The discovery of these emails sent me into a panic. I immediately called Lisa, who confirmed everything. She had helped Edna set up the recording equipment in the hospital but had promised not to tell anyone about the videos until Allison received the quilt. Edna wanted it to be a complete surprise. I confronted Melanie about the USB drives, hoping against hope that she had found them before cutting up the quilt. At first, she denied knowing anything about them, but after showing her Edna's emails, she finally broke down. What she told me made me physically sick. Melanie admitted that she had found one of the USB drives when she cut up the quilt. Instead of telling anyone or trying to find the others, she watched all the videos by herself. She saw every single message Edna had recorded for Allison, moments that were meant to be private between mother and daughter. Then, in what she claimed was a moment of overwhelming grief, she deleted them all. Her explanation made everything worse. She said she couldn't bear listening to Edna talk about Allison's future, a future she wouldn't be part of. She was jealous that Edna had taken the time to record all these messages for Allison but hadn't left anything for her own mother. In her words, it wasn't fair that Allison got to hear Edna's voice during all her special moments while Melanie had nothing. The most heartbreaking part was that Melanie had found all 4 USB drives. She watched every video, every precious message Edna had recorded while dying, and then systematically deleted them all. She even emptied her computer's trash bin to make sure they couldn't be recovered. When I asked her how she could do something so cruel, she just kept repeating that it hurt too much to keep them. I had to tell Allison about the videos. She locked herself in her room for 2 days after finding out. The only sounds we could hear were her crying and playing the few voicemails she still had from her mom on repeat. She kept saying that she could have handled losing the quilt, but knowing she would never get to hear the messages her mom made specifically for her was unbearable. This revelation has caused another massive rift in the family. Even Tom, who had been Melanie's staunchest defender throughout this whole ordeal, was horrified by what she had done. He finally admitted to us that Melanie's behavior had become increasingly concerning over the past few months. He said she would spend hours talking to Edna's photos, claiming she could feel her daughter's presence in certain objects. She had even started telling people that Edna's spirit was guiding her actions. Some family members are still trying to play peacemaker. Edna's aunt suggested family counseling, saying we all need to heal together. Others are pressuring us to forgive Melanie, claiming she wasn't in her right mind when she deleted the videos. They keep saying that Melanie needs support, not condemnation. But how can we forgive something like this? Those videos were irreplaceable. They were Edna's last gifts to her daughter, her way of being present for moments she knew she would miss. Melanie didn't just destroy a physical object this time, she erased Edna's voice, her words, her final messages to her child. Those weren't hers to take. I can't help but think about all the milestones ahead, Allison's graduation next year, her wedding someday, her first child, moments when she should have been able to hear her mother's voice giving her advice and sharing in her joy. Now those moments will be that much emptier because of Melanie's selfishness. Update 3. After 6 months of tension, everything finally reached its breaking point last week, though not in a way anyone could have predicted. At 2 a.m. on Tuesday, our security system alerted us to movement in the backyard. The camera showed Melanie trying to pick the locks on our back door. She had apparently watched some YouTube videos about lockpicking and thought she could get in without setting off the alarm. When the police arrived, they found not only Edna's wedding ring in Melanie's pocket but also a bag containing tools and an empty photo album. After questioning her, we discovered her disturbing plan. She had come to take all the photos we had of Edna, claiming she was going to create a proper family album that showed Edna's whole life, not just the parts with me and Allison. The police involvement forced everyone to finally see how serious the situation had become. During the questioning, Melanie started rambling about how Edna had come to her in a dream, telling her to collect all her photos and belongings in one place. She insisted that Edna's spirit was unhappy with how we were keeping her memory fragmented across 2 households. The responding officers were the same ones who had helped us file reports about the missing items months ago. They took one look at Melanie's bag of tools and immediately arrested her for attempted breaking and entering. Tom tried to intervene, claiming it was just a family misunderstanding, but even he couldn't explain away the lock-picking tools and Melanie's incoherent ramblings about Edna's spirit. The court proceedings were brutal. Melanie's lawyer tried to argue that she was acting out of grief and needed mental health support rather than punishment. But the judge took one look at our documentation, the history of stolen items, the destroyed quilt, the deleted videos, and now this attempted break-in, and decided enough was enough. We were granted a permanent restraining order that prevents Melanie from coming within 500 feet of our home or Allison's school. The judge also ordered Melanie to return every single item she had taken from our house. Last weekend, Tom brought over 5 large boxes filled with Edna's belongings. Going through them was like experiencing the loss all over again: Edna's journals, her jewelry, her favorite books with her notes in the margins, even her old music box from childhood. Allison spent hours sitting on her bedroom floor, carefully sorting through everything. Each item she uncovered led to a fresh wave of tears, not just for the loss of her mom, but for the months she spent wondering where these pieces of her mother had disappeared to. Most of Edna's family has finally stopped pressuring us to reconcile with Melanie. Even those who initially defended her actions have admitted that this goes far beyond normal grief. They've seen how Melanie's obsession with possessing Edna's things has only gotten worse over time, not better. Some of Edna's cousins still occasionally reach out, suggesting we should at least let Melanie send letters to Allison or have supervised visits during holidays. But we're done. The trust is permanently broken, and we're not willing to risk any more of our peace of mind. Allison has made it clear she wants nothing to do with her grandmother, and I fully support her decision. Tom filed for separation last week, saying he can't handle Melanie's obsession with Edna anymore. He's staying with their son for now and has offered to be our intermediary if Melanie ever tries to contact us again. But honestly, we don't want any contact, direct or indirect. We're focusing now on healing and creating new memories while cherishing what we have left of Edna. The quilt and videos may be gone forever, but we won't let Melanie take anything else from us, especially not our peace of mind. Some family members still disagree with our choice to go completely no contact, but we know it's what's best for us. Sometimes the only way to protect yourself is to completely cut ties with toxic people, even if they're family. Or maybe especially if they're family.